The year is 2021. Nearly everything is digital. Machines make our cars and software makes our art, with some help from us human beings. Popular and powerful illustration software like Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop that was once only accessible exclusively for Apple Macintosh in the 1980s is now available for anyone who can get their hands on it. The ubiquitous accessibility to technological devices and therefore this illustration software has completely changed the art world for illustrators. While analog art has certain unmatchable qualities and centuries of establishment in human culture, a shift is taking place.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening! Everybody stay calm!
Illustrators are being influenced now more than ever to create art digitally due to the economical benefits of time, high-quality production, and new opportunities being created that the digital world offers. As someone who's been passionate about illustration, I have the perspective that allows me to compare analog and digital illustration. After learning a few of the ins and outs of analog, I embraced digital illustration from my laptop using Adobe Illustrator. For the sake of making a true comparison between the two creation methods, I decided to recreate an old piece of mine digitally. This is called The Butterfly from Hell. Done in pencil, this piece took me 47.5 hours to finish, compared to its recreation that took me 12 hours. Beginning to create it again in Illustrator, I had the advantage of using my original piece as a stencil. This is extremely common amongst illustrators. They often have a rough stencil of what they want the piece to look like and then import it into the software to create it with the precision and cleanliness of computers. The foremost difference between digital and analog illustration is how they are each created. Digital illustration is art made using Photoshop, Illustrator, Procreate, and other illustrating softwares. Adobe Photoshop is raster-based art, which is pixel-based. When Photoshop was developed, it was created for photographers, but with features like a wide array of free-handed drawing brushes and layering for depth and versatility of compositions, other artists like illustrators are able to employ Photoshop into their creative process. Procreate is also a raster-based program, but its biggest advantage is how it emulates the traditional mode of illustration. With an iPad and stylus, you get the feel of hand-drawn analog illustration while gaining all of the digital advantages. For the means of recreating this piece, I used Adobe Illustrator. I don't have a Wacom tablet, which connects to the computer and projects the stylus-drawn work onto a laptop screen, so I created the entire piece using my laptop keys and mouse. AI is a vector-based program, using lines defined by mathematical formulas. Vector-based illustration allows the formless and free qualities of art to become objective and calculated. It works by dividing each line into control points that can be moved and manipulated, resulting in a cleaner format to present artwork. Analog illustration, on the other hand, is all hand-drawn work. It is created using physical materials like pencil, charcoal, oil, paint, ink, and one's own two hands. The phrase human error was coined for a reason.
I see the problem.
We're imperfect, and thus, so is our art. But that's often the biggest appeal to analog illustration. In a world obsessed with perfection, the authentic character of analog illustration is admirable. However, as artists, we continue to strive toward creating the vision in our heads. The cleanliness of vector-based AI is what allowed me to create the drawings in this piece by placing points or freehanding it and later editing the points. Using pencil, I had to erase and carefully redraw each little curve, never getting it right the first time, despite the amount of time I spent mentally preparing for it. This is not the reality with AI. Using the brush feature for many of the more delicate aspects in this piece, I had no inks because of the ability to change it when I'm done. With Adobe Illustrator being a vector-based program, the compositions are near perfect. Vectors are made to be adjusted with ease without ever running low on quality. Vectors will hold their clarity regardless of how big or small you make the image. This allows artists to be constantly trying out new things and easily making changes, while still maintaining the quality of the piece. Even though humans are composing the illustration, computers are fine-tuning every step along the way and making it easier for the user to focus on other things. In analog, the illustrator has to think of everything and do everything, building muscle memory over time. Thus, it takes significantly longer for illustrators to even make the stroke. Months ago, when I created the first Butterfly from Hell, I used linear perspective. This method is used to add depth to the piece by making parallel lines vanish to one single point. While it may have taken my illustration to the next level, it took incredibly long to do. Roughly 4 hours consisted of placing and erasing straight lines. When using physical materials to create, artists know their mistakes must be erased or covered. There is always some kind of trace it leaves, and the more erasing you do can affect the canvas. The care that goes into analog art no doubt adds to the mysticism, but in the world we live in, where time is money, taking triple the amount of time to do what your competitor does in a fraction of that isn't feasible anymore.
Whoa, this thing's going kind of fast. Hey, can you slow it down a little bit?
When you take less time to complete a piece of work, it allows you to create more. And in this economy, creating more is almost always rewarded. Also, digital art doesn't have to deter artists away from the analog art experience. It can aid in creating better work traditionally. Anita Louise Hummel offers a unique perspective on how to collate both forces of creating art in a most beneficial way. I do not use Procreate for digital art, but I use it to help me plan what I want to paint and how I want to paint it. I found Procreate to be invaluable in helping me be able to do this. This tactic allows some of the pressure and mental grief to be relieved, and it can even permit illustrators to make decisions in their analog that they wouldn't have if they didn't see the possibility first in digital. Digital illustration can also open up opportunities in other fields. Art isn't contained to its own field. It's a part of life and needed everywhere. One such unexpected field that has been opened to digital illustrators is the medical field. Art's application in medical teaching is invaluable to students' understanding of complex topics. Because the basic stock images don't meet certain specifications, digital illustrators are often employed in the medical field. While individuals in the medical field are fully able to make their own illustrations using these software, most aren't as adept and don't have the time to dedicate to making the kind of quality illustrations that skilled illustrators can offer. Aswin Apukutin contends that the use of a dedicated illustration software application gives additional options and tools and better results compared to basic image editing software and is worth the extra cost. Adobe shares with its clients that just about every industry uses Illustrator. But why? What do they need it for? For one, Illustrator is the go-to for logo creation, and it's critical for graphic design that's used for advertising, websites, packing, and posters. Not to mention, there's an entire streetwear industry that's dependent on softwares like Photoshop and Illustrator. Most of the printing companies ask for vector graphics in their screen and embroidery printing processes. Without such illustration software, an entire culture of fashion and community wouldn't be what it is today. Whether you're creating the new revamped logo for Mark Zuckerberg's Meta, drawing medical diagrams for the next generation of doctors, or designing t-shirt graphics, the opportunities that are on the horizon for illustrators well-versed in digital software are vast. The integration of digital illustration in our society has surpassed the point of no return. It is intertwined in every facet of Western culture, and while analog illustration will no doubtedly remain a cherished part of society, digital illustration is the future. Like it or not, you can't stop progress.